That's her. A 1-2, a 1-2. Hey, one. Okay, let's get professional because this we got a professional in the building. He's been doing his thing in the auto industry, and he's gonna show you some secrets and give you some background into the auto industry and what you can do to make money in the industry. And he's a very successful man himself. He's in, I think, the Jersey area right now. He also is from Atlanta, one of the biggest cities on the planet right now that's doing their thing. That's like the new Hollywood, guys. Wake up if you don't know. Now you know. We here, we in here, we always gonna be here, and we in here like somewhere. What's up, Steven? What's going on? Welcome to the show. Let's go, boy.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Doing? Doing well, doing well. You want me to address the auto industry just a tad bit?
Well, first, before you do that, I want to get to know you a little bit. So,
Okay.
Stephen, I was looking into what you do, and I see you're based between Princeton, New Jersey, and Atlanta, which
Yeah,
are two totally different markets. So,
correct.
first, I want to know, how did you even get started in the automotive world?
Okay, that's a good question. So, I used to have a friend named Lucky, and Lucky was from California, and he was an Asian guy, and I used to go out with him a lot, and I saw that he had a lot of money. Like, let's say, for example, we went out to a club. Back in those days, I don't really condone this life anymore, but back then, you pop bottles in the club, right? So I used to see my friend, he used to go out to the club all the time and I wanted to hang out with him. So, I started seeing that he wasn't popping just one bottle, two bottles, or three bottles. I'm like, bro, this dude's popping a lot of bottles. What do you do for a living? And he told me, he was like, I work in the automotive industry. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, what do you do? He says, I do automotive finance. And I
Mm,
was like, yeah. And he was like, yeah. I said, how do you get started? He said, well, you find a dealership and you go sell cars. And if you sell cars and you do very well, you can get promoted and it's a very lucrative career. And I was like, really? He was like, yeah, I actually have a dealership that you could go to. So he sent me down to a dealership in Princeton. And that's how it all started. And that's Princeton, New Jersey. And at that time, I was fresh. I moved during the pandemic from Atlanta to New Jersey. And I just hopped into the car business and I just stayed focused. And then probably about a year later, I got promoted and I ended up working in that field. And then how the automobile industry works is, you live month to month. So if you blink, 6 years will go by. So that's pretty much my story, how I got there. And from there, I started seeing like other companies do business to business relationships with the companies that I worked at. And I saw how much money was in the auto industry with the auto reconditioning side. So I knew the market in Atlanta is very hot. It's very pro-black. Me being an African American male. So I said, how about I get the money from up north, but try to expand the business from down south because up north, essentially for a 9 to 5, so to speak, it pays more than jobs down south traditionally.
okay. Hmm.
It makes sense. So,
Yeah.
you know, especially you have to understand up north is very um, controlled by different people. What I mean by that is you'll find that the car industry has a lot of Italian names from the past, like from the 60s, 70s, 80s. So and they're kind of all connected with one another. They all do business together. So, you know, me being a young entrepreneur, black male, I feel that I have the most opportunity going to a city that's pro-black because I know how the neighborhoods run. I know how people get down. And, Atlanta is a type of place where most people are entrepreneurs. It's great for restaurant business. People who have like their own music business, kind of like what you guys are doing, entertainment business podcast. So it's a hub for young
Hmm.
people to kind of try to get their foot in the ground or get their feet wet more so.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so, so I tell anybody, if you want to get into the automobile industry, one thing that I tell, especially black people, that you have to have a product. A lot of people say, um, how do I make money? Well, the first step of making money is having a product. And I believe that the world revolves around sales. So you also have to have something that people want. So something that you could sell, something that's tangible. And if you learn that simple concept, man, you can apply this to any business. I always tell people, the automobile industry is like the diamond business, right? You're selling expensive metals, but you're selling expensive metals to those who need transportation, and everyone in the world needs transportation. I have never met a person that says I do not want a vehicle, or
Right.
right, or
Well, I'm sorry, but I hear a lot of people up north. Sometimes those people come like to the south and they say, "Oh, we don't need transportation up north," and
yeah,
I do hear that, and I say because up north, it's a lot of transportation. What y'all have? Like you got the
yeah,
subs.
You got
Um,
taxis.
yeah.
Well, you still got an industry because remember you got the Uber industry,
right.
K, and then you got the Lyft industry, K. So yeah, it's still there. Yeah,
Well,
Lyft and Uber.
yeah, so yeah, that is true. Like a lot of people don't need cars, but I would say particularly in New York City, like because having a car in New York City is kind of like almost useless because you get stuck in traffic for a long time. But generally in the tri-state area, the tri-state meaning like Philadelphia, New Jersey, and New
Whoop
York.
whoop.
Oh, uh,
Sorry.
you'll find people that sometimes use the inner city transit. But you also will find that people still need vehicles, so it just depends on where you live.
Well, with so many people doing like things like Uber, Lyft, and the delivery driver or driving, I'm sorry. Have you seen more demand for service like yours, where people want their cars like looking good again?
Yeah, absolutely. See, the way I get in and the way I fit in is because you think about it like this, right? Let's say, you know, you want your car looking fresh. Let's say you get a dent or a ding on your vehicle, right? A lot of times you have to take it to you have to call your insurance and you have to take it to a body shop, right? Well, one thing happens when you call your insurance. First, it's reported to the Carfax on your vehicle. Second, you devalue your vehicle, right? So a lot of times people like to trade out of the vehicles or they like to resell their vehicles. But because you report it to that insurance and you make that insurance claim, you're devaluing your car thousands of dollars when you go to trade it in, believe it or not. And third, when you go to the body shops that's recommended by your insurance company, you're going to lose your car for about 7 to 10 days, right? See, where we fit in is we come straight to you. We're not going to report it to the Carfax. Okay. You don't have to come to the body shop. It's typically less than an insurance deductible. So most insurance companies, your deductible will be $1,000 or less, right? Our average job is about $350, ranging to up to $600, depending on the scope of things. But one thing's for sure, we'll have your car for about 2 3 hours. We'll do that at your house, and we'll get you back on the road. So that's where we fit in.
So y'all actually go to the customer's home. And
Absolutely,
wow,
absolutely. We
that's
are
dope.
body
I
shop
like that.
on
Very
wheels.
convenient.
Body shop on wheels.
That's what's up.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's a businessman. He's not a businessman, like Jay said. Okay. Yes,
Correct.
yes.
Correct.
All right.
Correct.
All
But
right,
I
Steven.
believe this. A lot of people, especially people of color, a lot of people of color are business people, right? We just have to figure out our niche. And once you figure out your niche, I don't know if you guys are spiritual, but not to get too deep, but God gives us all talents and abilities to be able to be fruitful in this world, to be able to feed ourselves and be able to take care of our family. And I believe that we deserve it the most. And that's just me being biased, of course, but you know, so I encourage everyone to find something that they're good at, and find something that makes them happy. It doesn't feel like a 9 to 5, and you'll be successful if you put your heart to it.
But I
Well,
do want to ask this too.
well, hold on,
Uh,
Kay. Wait a minute.
Okay.
Give me a second. I gotta say something to what you just said because that was deep. Like, well, yeah, we do deserve it. but do we know that we deserve it? You know, Common
Man,
said it best. He said, "I know black matters matter. I know black lives matter, but they matter to us? This is something we have to discuss, right?"
right.
And I got to bring that up because yeah, we have a struggle, right? And it's unique.
Mm,
But oftentimes we will find that our worst enemy is the man in the mirror.
mm, okay.
I just wanted to address that. And how do you feel about that? And Kay, sorry about interrupting you. We can segue into that next question.
Um, so there, let's say, let me break this down. Let's say you have $100 in your pocket, and you say, "Man, I'm ambitious, but I only have $100 in my pocket. What am I going to do? I want to start this. I want to start this business, but I only have $100 in my pocket, right?" So let's say, you know, you go out and you try to become successful and you fail, and you're like, "Man, if I only had the money, if I only had the resources, then, I might be able to put something together." So there is a lot in what you said. So there are people who lack the resources that don't have the same opportunity as other people, and particularly other races. And there's also people um who lack vision, okay? Because there's some people that can have money but have poor management skills, and they don't know how to manage their
I
lives,
like that.
right? So so it's a two-folded situation, because you know if you don't, the first thing you need to know is how to manage your life, right? And it goes down to the simple things, right? Waking up in the morning, and did you make your bed? It's the simple things, right? It's nothing that's kind of hard or difficult. Did you make your bed in the morning? Did you brush your teeth? Did you wake up early enough to give you time so you're not rushing, so you can have a clear head, right? Did you spend enough time with that man or with that woman in the mirror, right? Because um I met an Ethiopian chick a couple years ago, and she said something really heavy to me. And she was from Canada, by the way. But she said the image the image that you see yourself, like however you see yourself in the mirror, reflects the lifestyle that you bring into this world. So let's say I'm chaotic inside and I'm messy inside. My outside, my life, my house will be disorganized. And she used to always talk about the image in the mirror, and how whatever you produce, however you see yourself, is what happens to your life, if that makes sense. I don't know if
Yeah,
that.
it does.
I
Okay,
mean,
perfect.
I agree with that somewhat, but that's not. I don't think that's 100% true because I know some. Listen, I know some people knock your socks off and they living on the street. They got some really really high brain mineral power, but
Mhm.
like some things get in people's way for them not to be successful. As far as like maybe they get in their own way. Like I have a friend, he gets in his own way. Like he's a genius. He's really smart. You know what I mean? He's like got an architectural, mathematical type of mind, but he
Right.
just chooses the wrong people to hang around. So it's always something with some of these talented people that
Yeah.
holds them back. But anyway, I don't want to segue too much. I think Kay had a question.
Yeah.
We can get into this next bit. Let's go.
No, I was just gonna say that when you said that, I think that's more of a self issue. The
Mm,
That's like
okay.
that's something they have to deal with, and try to manage and figure out their own abilities to continue.
Let me further explain and expound upon the philosophy. We have to understand, just because you have talented people or you have people with high intellects doesn't mean it's going to be the equivalent of success. Sometimes success is as simple as being in the right place at the right time. It could be
Yep.
that simple. Or it could be as simple as keeping the right people in your Zapatos. It could be that simple. Because to be honest, look, there's a lot of successful people that came before us. This successful basketball player, by the way, from Chicago, cannot remember his name. I think it was like Ben, something with the Ben. Sad story, right? One decision ended his life. One decision. And they said he was going to be as great as Jordan or as great as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, all those things. But we have to understand, there's a lot of successful people here in the grave. A lot of successful people also that didn't make it. They on the street.
Self
So
choices.
yeah, it's all about your choices, and that's where I mean, you told me to stand up. I had to stand up on my philosophy. We 10 toes down today.
Right.
Like I said, foot's on next. All
Let me ask you a
2026.
question. Like, oftentimes people equate success with money. What does success mean to you?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. Okay, so success, ultimate success for me, because I'm a very spiritual guy. You're gonna have to be close with the Father. That's number one.
Okay.
Number one is your spiritual success. All right. And that could be as you could be homeless and have spiritual success and love the Most High with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. A lot of people don't know, man. There's some people on these streets, bro.
True.
I mean, you talking about these people are so talented. They just choose to be that way. A lot of people may choose to be poor too. We don't. A lot of people forget that. Man, I give up. I just don't want to live amongst you guys no more.
Self choices.
You get what I'm saying? It's another choice. I mean, brilliant people on the street. Like matter of fact, I saw a video on Instagram. This guy made one of the most beautiful songs I have ever heard. I'm
Mm.
telling you, one of the most beautiful songs. I said, "Oh my God!" And he was on the street, just playing his little banjo or whatever.
Wow.
Not banjo, but guitar. I always call it a banjo guitar. Yeah. So,
Well, these are self choices. I don't, it's not, they're not forced. I mean, from what you're
well,
explaining,
I mean, yeah, I mean, yes and no, because then you do
it can be
also
changed.
have it can be changed. I do believe that most people can change, but some people not going. Sometimes change ain't an option. We don't talk about that enough. The
Why
people,
not?
well, because sometimes your brain has been trained in such a way where you cannot mentally break it. Like I can't. Let's say I don't want to use okay, but in certain instances, I would want you to do certain things that I want you to do that I think that may make you successful, right? Let's say you don't do those things, right? You got successful people that always reach down and try to help people to be successful, but they don't listen. They don't discipline themselves. So
Mm.
there's a lot of things that go into success as far as we look at it from a carnal aspect, right? It's not only always a choice. It's not that simple.
If you ask me to do certain things that you feel as though it may make me successful, that are you saying like I don't listen to your ideas that will make me successful? I know you're just using me as an
What I'm
example.
saying is
None of
no,
this
no,
is
no.
true, but
But what I'm saying is some people can't hear you. You can lead a person to water, but you can't make them drink. So the person may be successful already within field that they're in. But I was telling a lady yesterday, I said you can have the greatest podcast on earth. Nobody gonna hear it. If nobody hears it, then is it the greatest podcast on earth? I
Well,
mean, I'm one of those that I don't really care about other people's eyes, so it's still the greatest podcast on earth. However, nobody will know your name. Nobody will be able to remember who you are. We've never heard it, right?
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I want to chime in on something because we got to start like you use an expression. You said if I lead someone to water, you can't make them drink, right? And I've heard that expression. I heard if you lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink, right? But I have never seen anybody that's led to water that's really actually thirsty not take a sip. But but we use these common expressions every day. But we never really ask ourselves, where do they come from? You know what I mean? So what I would say is, in reference to the conversation, is, you both are right in what you're saying, because I think what Salif is trying to say, because like I watched the video not too long ago. It was with Andrew Tate, if anybody know who that is. He has like a big court case in Romania right now, with human sex trafficking. But besides the point, he's known for making money and making people wealthy, and he has a school. But he says that there's some people that are so arrogant and prideful. And he was saying that, you know, if you had a multimillionaire in front of you and the multimillionaire said, hey, do X, Y, and Z to get here, there's some people that says that ain't gonna work. But, you know, they don't take advice from people who say, do it this way or do it that way, who have become successful. But at the same time, the problem is, everyone who is telling you in modern day time to do it this way to be successful is selling a course, and they're selling a book, and they're trying to exploit you, in my opinion. So I do hear what
Yeah.
you guys are saying. You know, just wanted to add my opinion.
So there we
Okay,
go.
yeah, I like that
Dude,
example. I like that.
that's another level to what we're talking about, is that there's a lot of exploitation when you make a lot of money, right? In this world, it's not easy to come up with something and be morally sound and still make money. It's not easy. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's not easy, right? And oftentimes, when we do get in some of these fields, we do have to do things that we do not want to do, oftentimes, right? And
Yeah,
some people don't like it.
right.
Doesn't mean they're not brilliant, right? And it doesn't mean they're not successful. Some people just have a higher calling, I think, spiritually. You know, like I said, I've seen some of the greatest people on the street corner. Anyway, uh, what were we saying? When we talk about this subject here, uh, I think that it is very important to recognize that everybody is just not understanding what success is, right? I think people
Yeah,
want like to look at a Tate and say, "Oh, just because he's this and that, he's successful." We don't
correct.
know Tate personally as a man. We don't
Correct.
know his morals. We don't see him every day in his quiet moments. All of these people that we even a lot of people do have a persona online, right?
Yeah,
That's why I say, like, a lot of people say they keep it real. They don't know what real is. They never kept it real in their life. It's just a whole act that they have on the internet. So
yeah.
you got that part of it too. But go ahead, Stephen. I kind of segue into something else. But
No,
how do you feel though? Um, do you feel a pressure? I mean, culturally, I mean, being so-called black, I guess too, as well, to move a certain way, to do things a certain way, because this is what you're expected to do.
yes. I read this book years ago, and it was written by Charlemagne the God, which is no god, but that's his title. Um, he he said, especially for people of color, and when I talk about people of color a lot, because first, that's who I am. But he said, it's very hard to step out of your bubble as a person of color and become successful, because a lot of times what happens is, the people around you are not successful just by being a minority. So a lot of people get forced into different circles that they don't belong into, right? Like, for example, let's just say the brother from the projects has to move to Beverly Hills and lives in a nice, well, white neighborhood, just so to speak, right? And then your whole environment starts to change, and you start to feel like you can't relate to anybody. And also at the same time, you can't always go home and be around the people that you grew up with, because these people now are not vibrating on the same frequency as you. And also they also have their other environmental factors or problems, and you can never build anything giving everything to someone else, right? So there is an isolation period, you know being a person of color, when you start to grow. But I want to remind everyone, I don't know if you guys ever seen that video. It was a clip. It was with Bob Marley back in the day, and they asked him, they was like, are you a very rich man? And he was like, money make you rich? And he was like, I don't have those type of richness. Richness is life. You know, so if I answered your question, so to speak, Salif, let me know. If there's something else you want me to dive into, but I just wanted to kind of highlight on those couple things that um about success and money.
Right, right. Okay. I'm really trying to find. I wanted to ask you about this show in the
Yeah,
90s. It's such a good freaking show. Well, actually, it was a movie. It's a
yeah,
car sales movie, and I wanted to see because I always felt like, oh, it's called Suckers. Yeah, Suckers from 1999, right?
yeah.
Um, have you seen that movie?
Suckers from 1999. No.
Yeah, check that movie out, man. We want to do a part two. And if you watch Suckers, this is so freaking good, and it's like just portraying car salesmen as liars. How true is that
Well,
about the car
I
business?
understand this. That's a great question. So that narrative still stands to this day, and here's the reason why. And let me break it down to you. A lot of people back in the 90s, and I would say early 2000s, were exploiting people with vehicles because you did not have the internet in the way that you do today. There was there were less educated buyers back then. So the market today is super competitive, and the person who normally has the best price gets the deal today. So there's less of the lying. But back in the 90s, right, somebody might say, hey, you need $5,000 down on this car to be able to get approved. In reality, you only needed 2,000. So you would take their word for it and give them the 5,000, and they would pocket the other three. You understand? But today, that's highly illegal. And the feds would bust you
Oh,
in today's
I
time.
am crying, laughing. Go ahead.
Okay,
Sorry.
so a lot of that stuff was before the age of the internet, because nowadays people come in and it's this simple. They say, "Listen, I want that car. I already know all about it. I know what's in it. I know the engine size. I know the piston size. Just give me the best price you got. And if you give me the best price, you got 30 seconds. You earn my business." You know what I mean? A lot of
That's yeah.
that today. But yes, that is true. Now, are all car salesmen liars? No, 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 no. Have I seen some that are full of it? Yes, I have. But yes.
Okay.
Stephen.
Yeah.
So from working in the industry, what are some mistakes you see car owners make all the time that end up costing them money later?
Okay. So one of the things that I see people do is they don't really understand how loans and money work. So you have to understand that a car is not a house. Okay. So, a car depreciates, right? A house appreciates. So one makes you money, the other loses you money,
True.
right? So one of the mistakes that I see people do is, you know, they buy a brand new fancy car and they put no money down. And as soon as they drive off the lot, they lose $20,000. All right. And they're instantly upside down on a car loan. And what happens 3 years later? They say, "Hey, I'm tired of this thing. The new iPhone 16 came out, so I want to upgrade my car too. I want the new 2026. I want everything brand new." So they come in and try to trade in their car, and now they owe $20,000. So how? So what? So you have the option. Are you going to roll that $20,000 into a new car? And some with good credit, they can roll some negative equity into a new car, or they say, you know what? Um, I'm gonna put $10,000 down, and I'm gonna roll it in. So a lot of people don't understand how things work when it comes down to a vehicle. And there's two biggest things that you buy in your lifetime: is a home and a car, I say. And
Mm,
you need to know how both of them work, right? A lot of people go and buy the car before they buy the home, which is wrong too.
yes, backwards.
It's backwards, right? You buy the house before you buy the car. So I see a lot of people who don't understand money come in and they make bad decisions. And I tell anybody, if you're spending over $30,000, you might want to take a day and think about it because that's a big investment, a big commitment.
Okay.
Yeah. So is it the same like with the finance institutions like banks, state I don't know if you're familiar with state employees, the credit unions, basically the credit unions. Like
Yeah,
if they bring a check from their bank and they come, are they still driving off the lot losing $20,000?
absolutely. Like it depends. So like, all right, so you can go to a credit union and you can buy, you can get loan money to buy a car. You're basically just cutting out the in-house dealership finance, which is fine. That's an option. But the credit union loans you money typically at a competitive interest rate versus the car dealer. The car dealer has to kind of compete with that rate sometimes, which car dealers can beat. Um, but um, it doesn't really play into depreciation, right? Depreciating the car depreciates because you get miles on the car, new cars come out, technology is advancing. So the credit union and depreciation is two separate things. They don't really kind of work hand to hand, so to speak.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so it depends. It's preference. Some people like
Mm.
going to the dealership to get a loan. Some people like going to their own bank. There's some people that's like, they like Navy Federal because they're military and they got military incentives. So it just kind of depends on your preference and how you would like to purchase.
So, being in the car industry, right? I guess, of course, appearance with the vehicles affect the car industry. But I would say, I know trying to keep prices low is, and the competition is really high right now. I guess, what changes did you see in the car industry after COVID?
Oh man, the car industry after COVID is crazy. So you got to understand that during COVID, let's say a car was $20,000, it was marked up to $30,000 because of supply and demand. So fast forward after COVID, those people who paid so much for their cars, the market kind of balanced out, and now those people are in bad car loans. It's unfortunate to say, but it's the reality. So a lot of people are stuck in their vehicle and they can't get out of it right now, and they just have to ride it out, okay, or possibly take a look at refinancing their cars in the future. So the market has definitely been hit after COVID. It's not the same. Um, it's actually kind of tough to sell cars because you got so many people with bad situations out here coming back. It's kind of sad to be honest with you, but um, like there's a lot of people who want new cars, they just can't get out of the loans.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I can only imagine that. For me, I feel like that affects me a little bit, but not as much because thank God I paid most of my car off.
Oh, you
Which
did?
yeah, I wish I should have paid the whole thing, man. I hate having a car note at all, but even with having this little bit to pay off, it's very annoying. You know what I mean? That you gotta make those payments, you gotta keep up with it, and they'll also mess with the payment too when you're late, stuff like that. So you got to be very careful. I guess what advice can you give people financially when it comes to making some of those type of decisions?
Yeah, so a lot of times you want to listen, how this world works is the more debt that you get into, the less moves you can make. So, you always want to put yourself in a position of power. And what I mean by that is you want to be able to breathe, right? So the average car note right now is $750 a month for a new vehicle. Okay. And I see people every day that's coming in, they're paying $750 up to $1,000 a month, right? But you got to think about that. You got your other bills like your rent, your utilities, things of that nature, right? And the more that you tie yourself down, is the less that you're able to move. So the name of the game isn't, who has the newest car, because if you be honest, if you were being honest here, that $20,000 car that's $400 a month can get you to the exact same place as that $1,000 car. Right. So you want to be able to tie your money up into smart investments, right? You want to be able to earn interest on your money, right? Instead of just paying interest to a bank. So, I would say, um, look for a car that you can afford based upon the income that's coming in. I would say probably you want a car payment that's probably at least 10 to 15% of your income, right? And then there's some people that have families that need bigger vehicles. I do get that. So, so you might have to adjust based upon your lifestyle. But the name of the game is, it's not how much money that you can make, it's about how much you can keep at the end of the day because things are getting more expensive each year. And I'm sure you guys see that as well.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say me, for instance. I have a car, a Jeep Patriot, 2015. It's paid off, and
Yep.
I want to trade it in.
Yep.
But would I be actually gaining anything? Like, is that a good trade in if I want like a standard car, let's say $20,000, and I want to trade in my Jeep Patriot? Long as it's not dented up or anything, am I
Yeah.
losing money
No,
or
I mean, no,
actually putting towards that loan?
no, because you gotta think about it like this, right? All money is good money. And what I mean by that is your car has an inherent value, meaning your car is worth something. Also, when you trade in your car, most states allow you to have a tax credit. So they say, hey, listen, you paid taxes already on this car. So we're going to deduct the taxes that you're going to pay on the new car because you already paid taxes on the one that you're trading in. So you get a tax credit. So let's say they give you, let's say, like in my state, the tax rate is 6.625%. So let's say a dealer gives me $10,000 for my trade in, my Jeep Patriot, also add additional 6.625% on top of that for a tax credit. Okay. So I'm getting a little bit more money to trade in my car versus a private sale. So you have to also look at the money that the Jeep is going to cost you over the next 5 years. Okay. And what I mean by that is maintenance, right? You have maintenance that's scheduled, you have maintenance that's unscheduled. So maintenance that's scheduled is oil changes. Maintenance that's unscheduled is when you come in and they say, hey, you need belts, hoses, fuses, wheel alignment, brakes, rotors, a throttle body cleaning, things of that nature. How much is that costing you? Although you don't have a car payment, the average that most people spend to keep these old cars running is anywhere between, I would say, $4,000 to $7,000 a year. So
Yeah.
so if you take that in the calculator, I don't have a calculator with me, but if you divide 7,000 divided by 12, you know, what are you paying per month to operate your vehicle, right? So, you'll find that it sometimes makes more sense to get a new vehicle, okay, at that point in time, right? But one thing's for sure, you know, I used to have a friend, he used to tell me, you know what, Steve, having a car is just a way of life. It is what it is while you're young. You got to be able to have reliable transportation. So sometimes you got to swallow up that car note. If you have to do it, you have to do it. But if there's nothing wrong with your car and your car is running fine, try to run it till the wheels fall off if you're not trying to impress nobody. That's what I.
Yeah, I mean, I have it. I see. We have another car too. I have another car. It's a Honda, and I'm just that my Jeep Patriot is just sitting there because I didn't trade it in when I got the Honda. We didn't trade it in because it was paid off, and I just wanted to keep my car. It was paid off, so why not? So I feel like, damn, maybe I am losing out because maybe I should have traded it in when I got my Honda, but I didn't do that.
You could, yeah, you could have. You could have. Just depends. Like, it depends. Like, some people find joy in having a third vehicle at home or a second vehicle at home. So, if something happens to your car, you don't have to go get a rental. Sometimes insurance covers that nowadays, but it really depends on your lifestyle and what you need. I would say, each year as that car sits there it's worth less. So
Yeah.
if you don't have if you don't have a plan for it, you could always sell it and possibly, I would recommend, this is not financial advice or anything like that. I would recommend like you can earn interest on your money. You can get a high yield savings account and actually earn interest on that money that's depreciating if you're not using the car. You can also sell it. You already have it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
sure
because
will.
I'm like, that's it kind of gives me idea like sometimes people kind of like wait to give their cars down to their children, and I
Yep.
don't really think that's very effective because by the time the kid usually gets hold of the car, it's like worn and broken down and it's got issues and you know how kids are, man. They be wanting they want something that works and reliable, you know what I mean? And then kids nowadays they're a lot more sensitive to, things like they might not even want to drive like that. Some kids are like that too. But what would you say to people that want to hold on to their cars, kind of like heirlooms and stuff like that? Do you think that's financially wise?
No, I don't. Just being in the nature of you gotta understand my everyday deals with business. So I talk money a lot, where a lot of people just by the nature of what I do. So majority of my conversations all day is about money. So I think I'm kind of knowledgeable. A man told me years ago, never fall in love with anything. If it makes money, sell it. There's some people that come across they dream home and say, you know what, I love my house so much, man. But houses are praised, so you might have
Oh, yeah.
you might have paid $200 for that house, but in today's market, that house is worth 600,000.
Exactly.
Paid
Yeah.
$1,000. You love it that much. You got to understand, especially here I go again talking about black people. We just got our civil rights in 1965. Before then, we was eating in colored people restaurants, and there were signs that say no colors allowed. So you're starting at zero. A lot of us didn't inherit anything, right? So you got to understand we playing catch up. So how we look at certain assets has to be a lot different, right? The world is also changing too. And what I mean by that is, right, we're living in an age where they got cryptocurrency, that's digital assets like Bitcoin. We living in an age where, you can actually go purchase digital gold from your cell phone, from Coinbase, or an app called Kraken, where you don't actually have to have gold bars. All right. There's digital oil, believe it or not. You can actually purchase oil from your phone. And a lot of times, because we are starting 400 years behind, we playing catch up, that they'll tell you, hey, go out here and buy that house. Well, listen, that same house that they told it worked in the 60s, it worked in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, but the world is changing. So that same house now has a 6 or 7% interest rate, and you're paying the bank a lot of money on that same house, right? So if you look at the housing market currently, especially last year, the real estate market was down tremendously. And a lot of people are not buying houses anymore. Believe it or not, the real estate sales were one of the lowest in the last decade. Um,
Yeah. The house and the stuff, it was down, but those rates was up high
the rates are up
last
high.
year.
Yes,
Yeah.
and these are effects after the pandemic. So, you know, we're living in a completely different world, and I believe, traditionally speaking, if you do the same things, right, that we were taught, you're not setting your kids up for success, because here's what happens. Right? A lot of times they say, "Hey, go to college," and I'm not against college by any means, but college is extremely expensive, right? So think about it like this: let's say you go to college and you take out an $80,000 student loan, and you're paying 4% interest on that. Keep that 4% in mind, but then you go buy your car and you're paying 7% interest on your car. So to combine together, the car and student loan is 11% interest that you're paying. And then you go buy the house, and that house is another 7%, right? So now you're paying, what is that, 18% interest on things that you don't actually even own. So what happens is, if you stay in this traditional cycle, um, you're going to be in so much debt that you can't really maneuver. And
Yep. You
again,
can't get out of it. Yeah.
get out of it. And again, we're playing catch up. So what brothers and sisters have to do, brothers and sisters have to figure out how to use their assets to make money. So like, for example,
Mm-hmm.
if sister's car, let's say she can sell her car and get $7,000. What I recommend you do with that $7,000 is put it in a high yield savings account. You can earn anywhere between 4 to 5% interest on that $7,000, right? And also the interest compounds, meaning every dollar that you put into that account grows with the interest, right? So you start leveraging your assets more so. So if I answered your question, Salif, I hope I did. I hope I'm not a little long winded, but you got to
No,
kind of
that was
look at
really
things.
good. I'll keep on.
You have to kind of look at things from a modern day standpoint. The world is changing. It really is. You can also look at the Genius Act. That's from President Trump. Not to get into politics, but there's a lot of things going on with the Genius Act and how they're trying to classify digital assets. And they're trying to the Clarity Act. Sorry, the Clarity Act. They're trying to bring clarity to what is a digital asset. So the world is completely different. It's changing after the pandemic. But go ahead.
Okay, that's interesting. Very interesting answer there. So, how long have you been in the car business?
So 2020, 6 years.
Okay, okay. And I guess in that 6 years, it sounds like you've been in the car business from all of the knowledge that you have. It sounds like it's been over 2 decades. But to say that 6 years, it has the change been that dramatic year to year you've noticed in the car industry?
Um, yeah, I would say because when I first got in it, there were a handful of cars, and the cars were overlist, and now we got a multitude of cars. And yeah, the industry has changed. It has changed a lot, man. They have a lot of AI in the car dealership too. From when I first started, nowadays there's a lot of different AI technology that's being integrated um, into the car industry. There's like, especially in the finance office, I have AI technology that tells me the percentage of what people is most likely to buy and what I should offer a customer. So there's a lot more AI integration that's coming into the business to study buying habits and to help consumers make more educated decisions.
Since we're talking about that, what is that car called? A Tesla.
Yep.
Now, if somebody come in there and their Tesla all ruined up, dented up and stuff, are you able to um fix that? Like, I don't me personally, I just don't like Teslas. So I guess I'm just curious on what you're gonna say about these Tesla cars.
Oh, so I would recommend never buying a Tesla. I would recommend, if you purchase a Tesla, lease a Tesla. See, the electric cars, they depreciate so much because what's going on in the realm of politics is you have politicians that were pushing for, the mandate for every gas car to be off the road in 2030, and then you had a house change where you have Republicans in the office now, and they're saying, give people the choice. So give people the choice to want gas, hybrid, or electric. So what happened now is a lot of those people who um, had the Tesla, there's less demand for Tesla right now, and a lot of people are going back to gas and hybrid. So a lot of people who finance those cars are extremely upside down in their loans if they didn't put a lot of money down. So an electric car has a tougher resale value being used. So if you lease a car, leasing gives you a guaranteed future value of what your car will be worth 3 years from today. It's called a residual. So
Yeah,
no,
I heard it was actually better to lease a car than actually buying a car.
Yes, it depends on your lifestyle, of course. So like most people who typically lease a car, they don't drive that much. So traditionally speaking, most leases will be anywhere between 15,000 miles, 12,000 miles per year, 10,000 miles per year, 7,500 miles per year, or 5,000 miles per year. So if you drive some ways, or if you work some ways far from your home, leasing might not be a good option, because if you go over mileage, they can charge you up to most most companies do 25 cents per mile or up to 30 to 40 cents per mile, depending on the manufacturer. So it depends on your lifestyle, but leasing does give you three great options. Um, you can buy your car if you really love it. You can continue to lease, or you can walk away from it. You can just come in 3 years from now if you lease for 3 years and say, you know what, I don't want this car anymore. Here goes your two keys, and I'm going to figure this thing out. See you later, and you're clean. You know, as long as you did the right thing in the lease.
Do you this is kind of personal, but do you currently like own your car, or are you leasing your car?
I financed my car, so I actually drive an electric car too. So this is why I'm telling you, I didn't know about the negative equity in the vehicle. I'm not that bad in mine. I'm probably about 3 grand upside down in mine, which is fine for me. I was gonna refinance with credit union and see if I can get a better interest rate and pay it off a couple months sooner. So I'm at that point in time where I'm thinking about leasing. I'm also I'm also thinking about keeping my car because my payment is $298 per month. So I'm at that point where I'm like, what do I do? There's nothing wrong with my car.
Yeah, that I mean that's a good 298. That's not bad.
Yeah, I'm not gonna find that again. So,
Uh-uh.
I'm at that point in time. I'm like, what should I do? Do I want a new car? Yes, I do. But at the same time, I could afford to drive around in my car up to maybe the next couple years. So I'll probably keep it.
Okay. So you're 31 and you're already running your business in the auto world. What keeps
Right.
you motivated to keep building and growing?
So I'm the type of person. I get very depressed if I'm not if I'm not reaching new levels, and I think, and it might be a man thing, you know. And I don't want to say women. I don't want to make it about sex because women can be very ambitious as well. But like men need to create, and if I keep like, for example, let's say if I do the same thing for a whole year straight, I feel stuck. So what made me kind of want to get my own business is like I want to create, and I want to be able to see how far I could take something if I put my energy into it. And the most beautiful thing is like if you ever create a business, it starts from a vision from inside your heart. And then once it starts coming together, you're like, dang, man, I really put that together. Right. So it's kind of a beautiful process, and you kind of have pride about it a little bit. So that's what kind of keeps me going. And also, having a family business is important because I went to college. I had the opportunity to go to college, and I was kind of like, look, when I was at college, I had to work a job. I was working at Chipotle, and I had to work part time to be able to pay for my apartment while I was there. And but there were also other kids there that had nice vehicles. They had their parents' credit card, and I wasn't one of those kids that was fortunate enough to have that. So I used to say, man, I'm gonna try to put myself in the best position so when I have kids, they could go to school and have a
And
nice
not have to,
car.
yes, and not be stressed out. I get that.
And then think about it. Everybody's in school trying to get a job. You
Mhm.
know, how about you have your own business, and if your kids want to go to school, you know, they go to school and they come out employed at your company. You know, that'd be pretty cool. You hire
Yeah, it
your
would, but some of those kids don't wanna,
do
you
right.
know, they wanna some of those kids wanna start their own thing. They don't always wanna take up
Yeah.
the legacy.
I think you gotta train them in the way to go, and then they'll follow it later, right? That's what I believe. I think that that's really important. Doesn't like, Trump was actually put on by his pops. That's how he made his money. But, usually a lot of times when you're able to get a great start in life, it can really help you in your future if you maintain it in the right way and you're taught as an all-around person, you know, how to conduct business and finance. So yeah, yeah, man, you got to teach the children the importance of their money and their finance in their life. I know they may want to go another way, but you got to give them that foundation.
Well, yeah, you can always knowledge them, give them that knowledge, but at the end of the day, those children, they will make their own choices. So sometimes you gotta pick, like, for example, if you got like 5 kids, let's say we got 5 kids. About 2 of those kids, we're gonna hope that they continue that legacy. But those other 3 may not be, following that legacy. So I get what you're saying, but
Yeah.
sometimes speaking knowledge into kids don't always make them shift that way. They always choose their own paths anyway.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't. It doesn't always translate, but I think again, it's a great pressure on the way that the parents raise the children. I think the parents have let children raise them in this era that we're living in. We have to stop letting children raise us. We are raising the children. You can direct a kid in which way he went. So, like me, for instance, with the Bible, right?
Mhm.
The one thing with my dad, he wasn't playing with them scriptures, man. Like now, he might have jumped around into a lot of different type of beliefs in the Bible, but he
Yep.
always made the Bible the main thing. Man, I got like 10, 15 Bibles in my house now. You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna stick. That's the thing. Like whatever you teach your child, it is going to stick. So like you teach them business, you teach them finance, you teach them what the foundation is, right? They're always gonna come back to it. Now, the thing is, when we teach our children, we don't teach them what the main thing is. Teach them what the main thing is, and they can have a side piece. And there's nothing wrong with having a little, thing that they want to do, they want to aspire to. That's cool, great. They can have a dream. Let them have a dream, but let them have a foundation to it at the same way at the same time. And we can definitely institute that within these kids' lives if we go hard enough and if we pay attention enough. But Stephen, did you have anything to that? What do you think about that?
Um, again, you guys, when you guys both speak, I kind of not to play the fence. You guys are both making sense because I do get that. Like, you could have 5 kids, and you know, you 2 of them might be going right, and the other could be reckless,
Yeah.
right? And at the same time, you don't want to step. You and at the same time, you are supposed to raise up a child in the way that they should go.
Yeah.
That is biblical. I have read that in the Bible. I don't know if that's Solomon. I think it may. I don't know, um, um, but at the same time, kids grow and they got to get out here and they got to experience things for themselves because that's part
Mhm.
of the developmental process. You know, you got, especially if you have boys, like,
Yeah.
boys got to get out here and they got to experience. And once they figure out what they like and what they don't like, hopefully they have principles to stand on that come from their parents and they're able to make the best decisions. But I hear what you both are saying, and I agree. I agree with both of you.
And I mean, just to add on to that, like I'm probably the most serious about the scriptures throughout my family, right? But what I find, even my the brother that least is involved still has some of that, you know, biblical foundation in him. And I was really surprised by it because we had a talk the other day, and I was like, man, wow, and it's amazing how even when someone is not in contact with the Father, they still can have that relationship and can still hear somewhat what he is speaking with them. And it's the same thing with any type of knowledge, any type of root that we place in these children. It's always going to be there. They just might not express it as much as you think they are doing. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
always keep that as a thing there. But yeah, I think what Case making sense too, but I definitely think that in the era we living in, the parents are getting ran by the children. So, I mean, let's say in your household though, Stephen, like, I'm not sure if you have children or you do as of yet,
And
but let me know on the like, how do you feel, and how will you raise your children? Are you gonna raise them as like a very disciplinary? Are you gonna like just kind of let them do what they want to do and choose where they want to go?
well, I don't have kids yet. I will be having kids. I'm engaged, so once I tie the knot.
Congratulations.
Thank you, appreciate it. So once I tie the knot and everything, if I have boys, I want to teach them how to actually do stuff, and not to sound bad. Like when I got out in the real world, I didn't feel like I knew how to do much. So I learned a lot from trial and error. So I would like them to actually know how to do things, like, you know what I mean? Um, like just common things with their hands, kind of be resourceful.
Hands on. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of hands on. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? And I would want them to understand, how to make better financial decisions, how credit works, so they don't have to mess up their credit. Uh, how how to use their money, how to use their skill set to become successful. I would also teach them to not worry as much, because a man should be rational, a man should be calm. I feel, you know what I mean. But I kind of teach them, the ways of the world, and from the best of my ability, at least. So, in modern day times, I do see, like, for me working in the car business, I hate it so bad too. I see a lot of black people come into the dealership, and it's sad because not to make it about black and white, I see young black kids coming to buy cars by themselves, and they don't really know what they're doing. You know,
Mm-mm.
so if I see them getting in a bad position, I'll tell them like, "Hey, man, if you want to buy this car, this is how you should do forward." Just because it's hard out here. But I do see white kids come in there and they got their mom, their dad, even grandmas in the back, and it's a family purchase for their
Yeah.
car, and they making sure nobody's taking advantage of their kids. So I would like to see that more in our community. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like, when I bought my first house, no offense, I didn't know what I was doing. I did it alone. I listened to what they was what the closing attorney was telling me. He was like,
Mm-mm.
"Do you wanna sign over your mineral rights?" And I said, "What does that mean?" He said, "Well, that means if they strike for oil on your on the property that you live on, the oil is not yours." I said, "Why would I sign that over?" I said, "If we strike for oil, shouldn't I have the oil?" He was like,
Yeah, it's on my land.
"Yeah, but they don't tell you what it means." So there's so many black people. Oh, and I got another story too, but let me
Mhm.
I got another story. This is why we as black people need to be educated. So when I bought my first house, they asked me that question. Do you wanna do you want to hand over your mineral rights? I said no. When I sold that same house, this is the game these people play. So I sold my house, um, and I paid for a real estate agent. I paid for a closing attorney, and the deal was done. I made the money off selling my house. I kid you not, true story, hand to God. About 2 hours after the transaction went down, I get a call back from my real estate agent and from my closing attorney that I hired and said, "Hey, listen, we made a mistake. The money that you made, we actually shorted the payoff, meaning we estimated the value of your house wrong, and we need you to send back $10,000." And I
Uh-huh.
and I said to myself, I said, "You made a mistake or I made a mistake?" They said, "Well, we made a mistake, but if you don't send us back to $10,000 because we messed up the payoff, uh, the other person that you sold the house to can't move in." And I was like, "Really?" And they said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, give me 2 seconds. Let me call you back." Okay. I
Uh-huh.
hung up the phone and I started thinking, because here again, I work in the car business. If the dealership messes up the payoff, the dealership is at fault, right?
Right.
So I ended up blocking their phone number and I never paid them back. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. How many black people that were uneducated in that? Because I had car business experience about loans and stuff like that. How many black people who have never sold a home before or never purchased a home would have gave them the money back?
Right. A lot of them.
A lot of them, because when
A
you have
lot of them.
lot of them, because when you have a closing attorney, he's using legalities, law. So I tell people, when you make these decisions, do it as a family unit, because there's sharks out here that want to exploit you.
Exactly. That's
Okay.
true.
Just wanted to share a quick story. Sorry.
No, no, you're fine. That's what when we my husband's mother inherited, like, she gave us a home, and what we did was remodeled the home. We did a what is it, refinance cash out. Cause
Oh,
like I said, anytime you're sitting in the house, if you're in the house, that's your like like for instance, I told my mom one day, she's like, I need some money. And she owns a home. I said, well, look around. I mean, you're sitting on your money. You're sitting on your wallet right now. Like, people don't understand them. I don't know how well educated you're in when it comes to the buying homes and stuff, but I love that topic. So when we talk about buying houses, how to save money and stuff I just learned last year, I'm excited to talk about it because I sold my mom's home, bought her another home, then I remodeled this home, and we did all that cash out.
oh wow.
And when you talk about inherited, you see his mom, they lived in this home for like 21 some years.
Yeah.
And we just turned it around, remodeled it, updated it. So now it's gonna be worth more than what it is when we do decide to move again.
Exactly.
So yes, equity, equity.
Good.
And then
It's-
also, even if you rent an apartment or you rent a house, they
yeah.
got this little program that will build your credit. Like, it'll build your credit as you paying rent.
Yeah.
It'll build your credit. And that's what I did before we came over here. But of course, I wasn't working. So me not working and I don't have no type of income. You gotta have income
Yeah.
when purchasing a house. So we just use my husband. But I was doing that to build his credit and stuff before we even, did the refinance cash out. So
Right.
that's a good step too. Just letting people that want to buy their home, first home owners. I
Yeah.
forgot the program. Once I get the program, I'm gonna tag it in here though. But it's a program that you can it'll report to your credit as like a loan or something like that, and you're paying it off
Yeah.
monthly.
Put like utilities on there.
Yeah. And it'll shoot your credit up fast. But
Absolutely.
yeah.
That was a good. That's a good takeaway, because a lot of people don't even know how credit works. It's
Hmm.
a shame. It's a
I
shame
teach
because
my kids. I teach them early.
perfect. It's a shame because a lot of times you learn how credit works when you mess it up. It's a shame.
Yeah,
You
that
know.
was me.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was me too. That was I messed my credit up, man. My credit was so bad at one point, I didn't even want to check to see what it was. I just knew it was me. And when I started, I ended up going to Barnes and Nobles and bought a book when I started trying to fix my credit. And it was like, hey, you could call somebody with good credit and they could add you as an authorized user to the account.
Mhm.
And I started calling people I knew, and then I realized everybody I knew had bad credit. And I'm like, dang,
Hey.
I ain't got nobody that can help me. So I got to see my way out of this.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
begging my mother to put me on her credit card, and she was like, "No."
Yeah, they
And I'm
scared.
like, "You ain't gotta give me the card. I just know you pay your stuff on time, you take care of your stuff, your
Yep.
credit's good. Put me on there."
Yep.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
There's
say that with anybody with kids to put your kids on there as well if you
a lot.
responsible parent.
A lot of people scared of that because they think that you're gonna mess up their credit, but in reality, you don't even have to have the credit
Yeah,
possession. You just get the benefit.
exactly. Like I'm doing on my husband card.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I don't use it, but he pays it. I'm just sitting on it.
yeah,
Mhm. It's building credit.
really. But I got my credit back up. There's actually an app that I use just in case anybody hears this that's going through the same thing with bad credit. It's an app. It's a website called. Let me type it in just to make sure it's still there. It's called Dispute B, and a lot of stuff that I had on my credit, I was able to get off using this app, this website. I'm not trying to sell it or anything like that. It's just I really used it, and I was able to, like, my credit right now is 748, but I started off in the fives. So um, I used that. So basically, what it did was it writes letters for you, and all you have to do is sign it, Okay, put your driver's license in there and proof of residency in there, and go to the post office and send out certified mail. And it took around 2 to 3 rounds for a lot of people to take some of that stuff off my credit. But uh, with doing that and rebuilding with a secure credit card, I was able to get my score back up. So never gonna mess it up again. But I just found that when I had bad credit, there was no one to tell me how to fix it. So I felt bad.
We got a lot of
Yeah,
jewels. I hope y'all hear these
I
jewels
know.
dropping, man.
Talking with
Boy.
you, Stephen Johnson, you really gave us some knowledge today. I really appreciate you. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, I got excited when we started talking about the housing market.
Yeah, I see that. Everyone's talking about
I
that.
love that. Like, yeah, I just love that housing market.
That's good, man. You might have a future in that. You know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm trying to buy houses and, fix them up, maybe rent them out. Who knows?
You ever
Like
thought about buying I've heard it's hard, but there's some people who buy,
apartments.
yes, but like 15 units.
Mhm. I'm
And
already on it.
yeah, I talked to a guy out here in
Uh-huh.
Jersey. He's pretty big in real estate, but he owns a car dealership too. So I kind of go to him about certain things because he's like, financially well off. But he told me you got to have a lot of liquid cash to do some of that stuff. Cause he said he thought
Mhm.
about, instead of buying a car dealership doing that, he was like, but you got to have a lot of liquid. So do your research, of course.
Yeah, I might have to bring shoot, if he wanna talk on a podcast, we gotta bring somebody with the housing market that know a lot. Cause I
Yeah.
mean, like I said, I'm still learning. I don't know. I'm not an expert, but I
Yeah.
would love to learn.
Yeah. I'll see if I can get him on here. He's, some of these people, they tough, they not one of us.
Oh,
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the finance guys, they're tough. Yeah, they're really tough. Hey,
yeah.
but Steven, let's get into where we can find all of this information because they do want to check you out,
Yeah.
see what you're talking about here, and
Yep. Yep.
also they may be able to get them in something nice rolling down that road. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. 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 So, my personal business is Total Auto Reconditioning Pros.com. That'll direct you to our business page. We only operate in Atlanta currently, so in the future we might operate in the rest of the states, but only dealing with Atlanta, Georgia right now. So it's the home base. All right, so that's Total Auto Reconditioning Pros.com. That's perfect. And then um, for my social media, it's the same thing. Total Auto Reconditioning Pros is the Instagram page. I don't have much social media um post yet on that, so I'm gonna work on growing that. And then my personal Instagram is Stevie. It's STEVIEC, the letter JAY. You can find me on there.
All right. Well, this was a successful show. I mean, really, really good stuff, man. Really, really good stuff.
Thank
We
you.
covered so much, man. I feel like I was in class, know what to
Thank you,
do and how
Stephen,
to
so
do it.
much. I
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks
you.
for having me. Much success to you and your podcast. I pray that when I see you guys next, this thing is blown up for yourself, and I wish you get a lot of following and you impact the world.
Thank you. I
I
appreciate you.
appreciate it.
All right, now, thank you guys.
All right.
Thank you, Steven. Thank you.